Hi, I'm 𝗖𝘂𝗿𝗁𝗏 from the National Museum of Archaeology, where I work as an assistant curator. My favourite object is from 𝗏Tarxien temples. It was discovered in 1915, and it's a little clay figurine which isn't the most handsome object we have in the museum, but as I'll explain soon, is absolutely intriguing. I think there's something which fascinates us about human representation. Whether it's in paintings, in statues, we create a relationship. In Christianity we have relics and various artifacts which we associate certain powers with. In this case, and with artifacts and the human representation which go back 5,000 years, we can only imagine what was going through the maker's mind. We don't know who it was created for, but when you hold such an object, you know it was touched by human hands 5,000 years ago. It's a bridge through time. You're handling something which meant something. We have an object which isn't aesthetically pleasing. If you look at it, there's something rather almost grotesque about it. There's no refined features in the human face. But what did they decide to emphasize? We see what look like breasts, a rather inflated tummy, what might be rather inflated genitalia. And if we turn it around, if you look closely, you can see these gashes which could represent a spine. And if you look even closer, they bothered enough that they've pierced the figure with little pieces of shell in certain key points on this figure. So it raises just so many questions about what was going through the maker's mind. And who were they making it for? Did it have some kind of power to help the person who would own this? As we can see, it's an object which can easily be held. Would it have been held as a protection? Would it have been put in a niche? Was it meant to be carried? That an object like this is invested with so much detail, still fascinating to this day, and it's still something that we can relate to as human beings. This artifact was found at Tarxien temples and is dated to around possibly 3,500 BC. Of course, we don't have any written records from that time, so for millennia it might have been lost. And then it was discovered again in 1915 by the archaeologist and Dr. 𝗧𝗿𝗂𝗏. Unfortunately, it was discovered in soil that had already been excavated, so we don't have the context. We know it's found within a ritual context of Tarxien temples, or what we call as temples, but unfortunately we don't have the precise location, which means we lose some of the story. So if we're to think in contemporary terms, if somebody was to find a rosary bead in the Sahara Desert, or even on what might have been a main road, but something which has been displaced, and you know, it's found 10,000 years from now, and it's no longer in use, would they be able to tell what the story and the significance is? And the same is with archaeology. When an artifact is removed, you lose the context and you lose the story, especially when you don't have written records. So what we do have are the notes in the notebooks of 𝗧𝗿𝗏𝗏 and all his excavation records. The rest, we interpret it within the context of all the other human representations that we have, but this particular object is not typical of the human figures that we have from that time. So we only have a few clay figures which would look even remotely like this.